Hi everyone, and welcome to Cecilia's YouTube channel. And today I will introduce my guest, Kelly Mabel. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, Celia. How are you?
Hi. And this is so nice for me to do this, because for 2 years ago, I was looking for some YouTube channel or some webinar, some place that I could sit and listen to someone who could point me to a nice feeling, something that could calm me down for a bit. And I found Kind Mind Community, and it's Kelly Mabel who's not driving. Won't say driving, but you have this Kind Mind Community, and I was going in there, and I didn't understand what you were talking about all the time, because I didn't understand so much English, but I felt the feeling, and it was so nice. So Kelly, you from Vancouver and Canada, and you have this community where you meet a lot of people and have a lot of guests. So can you please introduce yourself to?
Sure. Sure. Well, first I want to say that Cecilia held a special space in my heart. And it's very rare that someone from Vancouver, Canada would be able to meet someone from Sweden on an off chance, on a wing and a prayer, if you will. What I mean by that is that the idea that I would ever think that I could ever meet you in person was never in my capacity. No, nor was it to meet anybody within the Kind Mind community. And the idea that you were actually coming and participating from across the world, oceans and lands, I didn't know that Kind Mind would be reaching people like that. I didn't know what Kind Mind was even going to be. And so my name is Kelly, and I came across the 3 principles through a coaching program when I was a facilitator for coaching. And while I was working for that company, I was trying to blend the understanding of strategic methodology coaching with wisdom spiritual coaching, which is 3P. And it wasn't blending. And so I decided in the latter part of 2018 to let that career go. And almost like blind faith, I just said, okay, 3P, here I am. Let's figure out what Sydney Banks is, and let's figure out what this 3 principles is. And then I realized I didn't want to do it alone. I wanted to be with people. I wanted to share with people, because I had been working in a field where we had beautiful conversations all the time. And I worked with international people for that college. And I had never been so, let's say, had so much time to think about what I was going to do. And so all of a sudden, it came to me from my dad, who is an Irishman. And he would always say, whatever you're proud of, Kelly, you put your name on it. And so I was trying to figure out how I could put my name on something that would, feel, have a feeling to it. And so Kelly Mabel is KM, and KM turned into Kind Mind. And that was the beginning of nothing, because I didn't know where it was going. I just knew that my dad had told me that, and all my other businesses prior to that had my name on it. And so Kind Mind became a name. And then Kind Mind Community felt right to me. And then somewhere along the line, I said, oh, well, let's do a Facebook group. And I was, like I said, it was blind faith, Cecilia. I didn't have any plan. I didn't know. And I didn't know either that I was going to be in COVID, and we were going to be isolated. And we were going to be doing these things that the whole world didn't know what we were doing. And so that's how Kind Mind started. I did start a little bit of the beginning stages with coaching women in business. And that began in the January. And then Kind Mind sort of evolved because I was connecting so beautifully like I do with you.
Yes, you really do. A lot of people always wanted to come to the room or will come to the room because you still have your webinars sometimes, and it was, for me, it was the feeling I felt always welcomed, and I could just sit there and listen. And even if I came from Sweden and I didn't understand, I felt so so welcomed, and it was a feeling of allowing everyone to be there. And it's you, Kelly, who brought this feeling in the room for everyone to feel that comfortable. And you always want to be with people that can bring you to that state of that place where you can rest. It's I see now, when this is growing inside me, that it's the feeling. You don't need to understand all the language or everything that other people says, but if you feel the feeling and can rest and slow down and listen, you love to be there. So you made really a very nice community. And then we met each other in Copenhagen, and that was amazing that we could do that. And yeah, but you are also an educator. You love to have programs and do works with all kinds of people in all kinds of programs with mental health.
You know, there's something to be said. I'm going to pull something from what you said there, because you said, I didn't know what I was listening to, you know, and you fell into a feeling. I don't think any of us, you know, globally, the Kind Mind, you know, followers really knew what we were listening to or what we were supposed to be hearing, but we knew that there was a place to go to. You know, there's lots of places to go to. And you know that feeling in you when you feel okay. You just feel so okay about you. And one of the things you need to know is I was not feeling okay about me. I was just pressing a button because you had spoke to me about levels of consciousness for this conversation. I don't think, as you said, you didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was either. But I called it blind faith, you know, where you just put your hand over your eyes and you just walk, and you're drawn to that place with good people. You know, you're drawn to that place with a beautiful feeling. And we were drawn together by that. And that wasn't me. That was you. And that's some of the level of consciousness that I understood as I got more and more understanding around what we were talking about and what Sid was talking about, is that the more I got still, the more beautiful the feeling was. And there wasn't a lot of stillness 2 years ago. I don't know about you. Well, how did you feel when you came to the room?
I fall asleep in the beginning. When I was sitting, I was so busy up in my head that when I suddenly calmed down, I know that my son, he called me once and told me, Celia, wake up, mom, wake up, you're sleeping. He was in the same webinar, and he saw that I was sleeping, and I did that a lot in the beginning. Maybe I was so stressed, so when I was just sitting still I just fall asleep.
Mhm.
And but I wanted to come back all the time because I wanted to have that feeling. I wanted to feel the calmness, but it was a lot of new things for me to go out in Zoom. I have never been out in the technique with the computer and how to do all the things to sit in Zoom, but it worked out, and I came every Monday. I came and were in the room for at least 1 year. I was sitting every Monday and listen and listen, and something happened with me after a while. I felt like it get more easier to, when I was doing this more and more, it gets so much easier to come to that place in myself, the calm place. It's like I was practicing to doing this over and over again, and it felt like I needed to give me these moments to sit like that and listen and listen. I'm not that often in webinar now, like before in the beginning. In the beginning, I was sitting all the time in webinars, but now I can find that place in myself for myself. I don't need to be in this room every day, every week, but I love when I come to the room.
You know, it's something that I think the blessing of COVID, the timing of everything,
Yeah.
the push. I had a lot of stress and thinking about what am I going to do, because at that time I was no longer working in coaching, which was I was teaching. They ran in 4-day stints, so you'd work 4 days and have the rest of the month off, and then you'd work 4 days. And so I had hairdressing, which was my first love, happening on the side. Well, then COVID happened. There was no coaching, like not working for the college, and there was no hairdressing. And so this feeling of, oh, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And so that was some of the, Kelly, get up and go to get Kind Mind going. And then when I got there, it was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You don't even know what you're doing. And I would just press the button and invite beautiful people like you to come. And people thought, this, I was a, what do you call it? A host, like I had none of that. Wasn't anything like you say you were doing Zoom. I learned how to do Zoom probably just 2 years sooner than that. Like I didn't know.
But I thought you could do everything. You are the star.
Isn't that the funny thing? We come into this place and people thought, that I was like this host thing. And I was just like, okay, everybody, here, press the button. And then it's like, here's Celia.
But we didn't see that. We didn't see that. You were the star. I didn't see that. I thought you have done this for a whole lifetime. You did this, and that, I think also when you focused on this every week and you have got a lot of time when you was focused on this, you practice and practice and it get easier and easier to do that, and suddenly you had a lot of guests.
Well, it's like in the beginning, people needed a place to go because we weren't working.
No.
Right? The world was closed down. So people wanted somewhere to go. And of course they wanted a beautiful feeling. And I didn't know what I was providing, but I did know the mentors, and I had been in, so it's 8 years this year that I've been in as a facilitator for well-being. And at that time, in 2019, it was the first time I thought, well, let's talk to the world. I've been talking to my locality right around Vancouver, but I hadn't been talking to the world. And that was like, oh, you can't talk to the world. Like, who do you think you are? And something came along and just said, as I said, Kind Mind, my dad, Kelly Mabel, it was just like, okay. But what I noticed, when you think about where we were then, with all the pressures of the world, let alone our own stress or our family or our monetary losses or gains or whatever it was, we all wanted to come together. And that was what I had going for the room, is that people wanted to be there. And at that time, they had nowhere else to go, or they, other rooms, of course, were there, but they had more opportunities to come. And as you said, we don't do that so much anymore because life has taken another turn. And I think what I realized then is our consciousness, you and I, and everybody else, we were looking for the feeling. We didn't know we were looking for
and
that.
I didn't thought that you could have that kind of, you can touch that feeling in a computer. I thought that you need to meet. And I was surprised that we could have that deep feeling together in that room.
Do you know what? This is funny, but the biggest surprise for me was what was so beautiful is I was blessed where I could see someone and I thought, that person, I want that person to be a speaker. It was not me choosing. It was like they were choosing me. It was a kind of, they didn't say, hey, Kelly, can I come? I would just get a feeling about someone like I did with you. And I'd be like, oh, I want that person. I'd like it was like God chosen, a divine appointment, I called it. Divinity was working in the room and saying, ask that person and ask that person. And so people would come. And what people didn't realize, this is the funny part, is I was falling into the feeling too. So my hostess went right out the window. So that's why I was kind of always questioning, like, what are you doing? Because I'd be like this, you'd be talking and I'd be like, wow, that, and then it'd be time to end and it'd be like, oh, right, you're doing a job today, Kelly. You got to close the Zoom, say goodbye to everyone. And I didn't have questions. And I used to think that was a bad thing. But what happened to me? And it took almost the whole, 2 years to experience the fact that, Kelly, the reason you don't have anything to say is because you too fell into a feeling of no thinking. And so, where I was like, yeah, but you're running the show. You got to go, you got to tell them who this person is. In the middle, sometimes there'd be these pauses and I'd be like, oh my God, what am I supposed to say? Because I didn't have any words because I was floating.
And like you asked me why I was doing this. It's both for me and for everyone that we can have this. We can come to this pointing at this feeling, because things happens to us when we can come into that space.
Yeah. And we, in the beginning, as we're, both knowing, you came with your mind, I came with mine. I was the one who pressed the button. It could have been you, could have been anybody. It just happened to be me. And then we met the most beautiful people there, didn't we?
Yes, we really did. Yeah.
I can
all over the world. That's so beautiful when we can talk to someone in India, Africa, London, Canada, Sweden, Norway, everywhere. And behind all this culture and language and it's like we connect.
Yeah.
We can see that we connect behind that. And when we are up in our life and our head and things moving on very fast, we can't really see that and touch that in the same way. Like I didn't, at least I didn't, but I can see now that there's so much we can touch that's the same for us.
I think, you know, when you were speaking there, what came to my mind was we came to the room for something. Something said, I'm going there. Maybe it was, I need to de-stress, or I like the name, or the message might be something different I haven't heard. We don't know, whatever it was. But we all came for something, and it was not the return on investment that we came for. In other words, we got something far greater than we ever thought from choosing, making that choice, that conscious choice. When we made the choice to pursue whatever 3 principles in Sid Banks was, or whatever the feeling was, whatever brought people to the room, it's like commisery broods company, where you're negative and then you go somewhere and there's more negative and it just builds. That wasn't the case in what we were finding. Like, we didn't come because it was a conversation about releasing stress, and then we got to release stress. What we found was, no, we weren't there for the stress at all. We were there for something far greater. And none of us knew it. I certainly didn't. I certainly didn't know it. But what you say and what I say was, we came because some feeling inside of us, something inside of us said, just stay a while, maybe listen a little longer. And we let go of being scared to be there, or pushing the Zoom, or learning how to get on the computer. We let go of all that. And the world, divine appointment, the greater source of all things, sort of, you know, gave us this little, come on, try something new, because the world's shut down now. So come on.
And sometimes we saw more, and sometimes less. It's also the energy that we feel more with some people and less with others, and it's difficult to point why, and it's just how it is, that energy flows, and you pick who do you want to speak in community or not. It's something inside that tells you, we pick her. She's the speaker next week.
Yeah.
And that's not because the others can't talk, but you also feel when someone speaks more from heart, and you can also see when someone speaks the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the feeling.
The insecurity, the misunderstanding, the stories, the bullshit, all that up here, that keeps us from being ourselves, from really truly being ourselves. For some reason, on Monday morning at 9 a.m. every week for 2 years, I said, I'm just going to lay that down and just do this.
And it's a nice place to be. It's a very nice place to be, to just fall into that space together. And sometimes we were just sitting quiet for a minute or two, and no one said nothing. And I just love it. And that's something I didn't like at all before. But nowadays, I really love to just sit quiet.
Whether it was the Kind Mind room, or it was someone else's room, or it was the feeling, something in 2019 touched us all. For us, you and I, to be able to be together and to have a hug in the middle of the city of Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And
but now, Kelly, when you're not in this room, like like with COVID, how do you go further? Do you say further? You go continue your road
Yeah.
in your consciousness.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing about what was curiosity began the journey. So I think what happened for me is I stopped being so closed to only the thinking that was already there. And I opened up, and then I cracked it open a little more and cracked it. And so what happened over that time between you and I and all the other people and the experience for myself was that I changed. And I could see now, you were talking about, each person and sometimes we connect with this and sometimes we don't. That was whether my mood was up or down. And I can see now, oh, you're just in a low mood, Cal. So ride that out. How long do you want to have that? 5 minutes, whatever you want, just ride that out. And then come back to where all things are true. And I think the difference from then till now is that now I can see that. I can see when we were talking about, before we got to this call, we were talking about some things that were very serious. And they were very, they were very true. And what I noticed was it brought me into a place that was a little different than, where I wanted to be for this call. And I saw it. And so I realized, oh, I'm going down that rabbit hole over there. No, I don't want to do that. I'm going over here. And it only takes minutes now. And sometimes days, sometimes I could just I'm going to box it out. I'm going to fight it. But I see it now. I see it where others cannot see it. I see it where I can be the conduit. I can be the light, the little light for other people to see it. And I don't have to have them see it in a certain time or a certain way. And I'd really like my family to see it faster, but I can see it. And so that, in speaking to where we were in this conversation, the level of conscious awareness, my focus is heightenedly aware of my crappy thinking. So beautifully so that I can see it's crappy thinking and I can choose to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that carries that feeling. The crappy feeling is a feeling. I can feel it. And the beautiful feeling of choice. And I think I want to say one word that, sometimes we don't talk about this, but it's true for me. So I'll say it for what it's worth. There is a serious, strong, impactful commitment that I make every day. I commit to it every day. And that's what it took for Kind Mind to be what it is and was. I committed to that. And that's something we don't necessarily talk about, but I believe for me, in my journey, that if I don't commit, then I'm wandering in, any place but here. So my commitment is returning to the beautiful feeling. Oh, you just got out of line, Kelly. Okay. Oh, right. I wake up each morning and Rick Rupenthal, God love him. Rick Rupenthal sent a little email today and it said he was sharing Rich Litvin's conversation that he sits on the side of his bed and he looks up and he says, surprise me. And my mom used to say, something special is going to happen today. And she would say that during her cancer treatment. Something special. And she'd say it with that tone. And it would bring an upward feeling. And so oftentimes I catch myself, thinking of my mom and saying, something special is going to happen to me today. And it could just be that someone smiled at me on the street. It could be that my friend Cecilia called me up and said, let's do a call. Let's do a YouTube call.
So it's really like this, when you are in a mood, you see what you see. And if you not have this kind of insight, your level of consciousness is very low, like it was for me for 3 years ago. You can't see this. You can't see this really. You just have little seeing sometimes, but it's not enough for the change, like the transformation.
What do you think was the change? What do you think? Like, this is, for me, it was commitment.
Yeah, I had the change when I was sitting on my own, when it hurt too much. Then I saw that it was what was up in my head. It wasn't true. But I also saw that I needed to change the way I see life. I can't go in this direction anymore. I must make a change for my beliefs, and not believe in this thinking that I'm wrong or broken or something. And when I started to look in something new, I felt more healthier and was more open up for new things. So it changed the level of consciousness, and has been bit by bit. And for 2 years ago, I couldn't see this, Kelly, sitting here we together, Cecilia's YouTube channel.
Even that, isn't that funny? Isn't that funny that we can just laugh at that?
It's really funny. But I also have these kinds of thoughts sometimes. Who do you think you are, sitting here, sending out this? Who want to listen to you? Blah, 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 blah. But I just allow this kind of thoughts so little. And can see that you don't need to believe in that. It's not helping, and it's not feeling good. And I know now that it's the feeling. So if it's not feeling good to say those nasty things about yourself, it's wrong way.
There's a beautiful thing you're pointing to. It's the GPS. It's the divine. It's the absolute ultimate intelligence that when we get to a certain point, something wakes us up. If we are open. If we're closed, we'll repeat the cycle over and over and over and over again. But if we truly know what we know, if we're really being true to ourselves, we can sit, and that divine guidance comes without anything happening to say, no, this is too low. This is too hard. This is not you. This isn't right. This isn't where you're going to go. Your path is over here. Stage left.
Because that's all, it's only insecure thoughts. And that's also moving. It's fluctuating. It's coming and goes like this. It's like the train you sent me in Christmas you sent me a Christmas card, and that was so beautiful. It's like the train. You stop on different places, and it's like the level of consciousness.
Yes.
You just notice, okay, I got this feeling now. It doesn't feel good, and we're always going to have these kinds of feeling, not feeling good. But when you recognize them, and you know that, okay, here we go again. I met you before.
Yes.
But I don't need to notice you that much that I did before. I don't need to stay there in that dark. You just it just moves on to better new thoughts, new feelings, and yeah, it's really the level of consciousness that happened here for both you and I, and I'm sure that it's going to open up for more and more and more, and go deeper and deeper. And maybe I'm going to sit here and laugh about this conversation, but we see what we see, and we share from where we are. And I don't want to have these kinds of critical things to myself anymore. I don't like to do that anymore. Criticize myself all the time. I'm finished with that. I have those, but I don't need to go in that direction. I think this is much more fun to have these conversations, and the place we point to, that you don't need to have any techniques, or everyone have this knowing inside. And if we open up, we grow.
Yeah. And in my room, I would call that a kind mind.
Yeah, really a kind mind. And that's why I came, because it's what's so kind. No one criticized or told me that, oh, then you must be broken. It's something wrong with you. You must you must meet the doctor, or you must blah, 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 blah. No one did that. It was just kind. That's the difference. Nothing is wrong. Nothing to change. Just allow.
And the one thing I realize that I wouldn't have looked so deeply at it before, but I took a deeper dive in looking over the last 2 years. And that is, kindness needs no words. You know it when you feel it.
Yeah. And because I didn't understand the English, I just went to the feeling.
Yeah.
And it really felt kind.
That's a prime example, Cecilia, because you're saying, even with a language barrier, even with the difference of culture and conditioning and upbringing, even with all that difference, you knew. You knew.
I knew. And there were plenty of rooms to walk into, but I chose kind mind.
And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. Kelly, it was so beautiful to do this speak. I really enjoy it. And I can see that a lot of things have grown since we met the first time. And I'm really happy that I can see that change. Because sometimes when you are with yourself, you can't see how you have changed. But when you meet someone like this, and know what you're going through, you can see that, yeah, things have been growing.
Mhm. Yeah, we don't need to make a list of everything.
No, we don't. We can just
Because
feel it.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been lovely to speak with you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
Let's carry on the conversation. Let's spread our little light.
Yeah, we do.
This little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Bye for now. Take
Bye
some
for
kindness
now.
with you.